Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining another episode of Spirit Club. And today's going to be a bit of a personal share, personal episode, because I'm going to talk to you about how doing the inner work has changed my life. And while this is personal, I'm still going to make it practical and applicable to you, so don't worry about that. But I hope that it just inspires you and shows you how there are actual results that come on the other side of doing the inner work, because that's what we're all about here at Spirit Club. And on that note, I am currently accepting members to Spirit Club, my group program. And in this group program, we're basically going to be doing the inner work that we talk about on this podcast all the time, specifically work towards getting you on your aligned path. So that program starts October 8th, and it will be just a small group. So very intimate, and it's really just all about you. So you can check that out in the show notes. All right. So the reason I want to talk about how doing the inner work has changed my life is because sometimes I think people hear this like, oh yeah, sure, your life has changed, but we never actually know or see how. And the thing about it, the magic about it is that by working on your internal environment, like making that your focus, your external environment will just change. It just will. So you almost don't even have to address the external environment at all. You just address the internal and things shift. And really, I know what all we really want is we want to impact our external environment, because that's what we're living, right? So I'm going to talk to you about the ways that doing the inner work has changed my internal environment and my external environment. So you know all the ways that it could change your life. So I think I have, let's see here. I think I got 8 ways that doing the inner work has changed my life. Let's start with the internal environment. So number 1, doing the inner work has taken me from victim to empowered. So as I shared in my first episode of this podcast on my spiritual awakening, before I started down this path of truly working on myself, I felt very, very stuck. I was broke. I couldn't get a job or keep a job in my field. I was single and I was dating all the wrong guys. I was unhappy. I was frustrated. And I really felt like a victim. I really felt like the universe was targeting me. Like, universe doesn't want me to be happy. So I was really a victim. And doing the inner work turned it around so that I took ownership of my life and where it was at. And as I began to do this inner work, I started to witness my external environment changing. And I didn't even know that that's where I was headed, but I just witnessed that this is what was happening. And once you see that, there's no unseeing it. Once you see that doing the work on yourself will actually shift things in the world around you, you can't go back. And so because of that, I have not been a victim again, and I will not be a victim, because I know that I have everything I need to find peace, love, and happiness. Okay, so that's number 1. It took me from victim to empowered. Number 2, how doing the inner work has changed my life. I no longer walk around triggered all day. So you all know what being triggered feels like. Something happens with someone or something, and you are feeling maybe anxious, frustrated, angry. You're having spiraling thoughts. You start to kick in all your coping mechanisms. Does that sound familiar? So I used to be triggered a lot, triggered by my family, by my friends, by my coworkers, by my partner, mostly triggered by my partner, Shane. He really couldn't win. And I feel terrible. And sorry, Shane, if you're listening to this. But it was as though I took everything he did, and I projected my wounds onto it, and I made it about how I didn't matter to him and I wasn't a priority and all these sorts of things. Like I made meaning out of everything he did, and it triggered me. So a big part of doing the work is looking at your triggers and working with them and working through them and using triggers as cues, as flags of where you can direct your attention. And as you work through them and take ownership of what's yours, you'll find on the other side of it that you're not really triggered anymore. And what a blessing. What a blessing to not walk around triggered, guys. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 2 of how doing the work has changed my life. I no longer walk around triggered all day. And this doesn't mean that I never get triggered, by the way, guys. I do. And when I do, I'm like, it sucks, but I'm like, oh, there's something here for me to work on. Okay, thank you. Thank you, trigger. I will work on it, And it's so rare that it's like, I really notice it. Okay, number 3. How doing the inner work has changed my life. It has brought more peace, joy, and love into my life. When I thought about this one, I was like, man, isn't that everything? Like to live with more peace and more joy and more love running through you. So, and I will talk about, the external things that doing the inner work has brought me, but this one, I mean, nothing really beats the capacity to choose peace, to make decisions that will bring you more peace, to make decisions that will bring you more, to make decisions that are out of a more loving place. And no, this doesn't mean my life is always peaceful, just to be clear. If you know anything about my day job, you know that my life is pretty stressful. But doing this work has given me the skill to find peace even through that insanity. And more importantly, it's allowed me to identify the things in my external life that need to change in order to support my goal of more peace, more joy, more love. So although my day job may be getting the best of me right now, I'm not a victim to this. I know what I need to do about it. Okay, so number 3 is more peace, joy, and love. Number 4, how doing the inner work has changed my life is safety. So, those deep fears, the ones that you'll do anything to prevent. So maybe it's being alone forever. Maybe it's being broke. Maybe it's losing your job. Maybe it's losing a friendship. The thing with those deep fears is they can really have us making choices and taking action that is out of alignment because we're really operating from fear, in other words, our egos, rather than from love, or in other words, our souls. So doing the inner work has allowed me to create safety for myself. Safety that I know I can handle whatever life throws at me. Because listen, you cannot control life. You can't. We all know that, right? We've experienced that enough. We try our best, try our hardest, but we cannot control life. Sometimes the rug will get pulled out from under you. People do things. You have no control over that. But you can create safety for yourself. You can create a safe place to know that you will be okay, that you have everything you need right inside of you. So that's a big one. Okay, so we've talked about the sort of internal environment that has changed on the other side of doing the inner work. Now let's talk about the stuff I know you want to hear about, which is the external. What has changed in my external environment? Okay, first up is money. Yeah, money. I used to stress about money nonstop. I lived in the biggest lack mindset ever. I was always broke. I was always in this like fearful mindset about money. Even if I had it, my programming made me act and believe as though I didn't. And then next thing you know, that money would disappear. I'd get like a big ticket or, a random tax bill, or better yet, the job that was giving me the money would be ripped away from me. So I worked hard on my blocks around money, on my programming around money and abundance. And I swear to you, it worked. It worked. It has been many years now that I live and operate in a trusting, abundant mindset, and my external world reflects that. And that is the order in which it happened, to be clear. It's not like, how do I say this? It's not like I started making more money and then I felt safer about money. It was the other way around. I worked on my fears around money, on my fear and lack mindset around money, and then money started flowing in. And then I still had to work on it. I would still be tested, and I still had to work on trust and abundance around money. And now I've not had a problem since. Money comes easy to me. Like to the point where I have never had to ask for a raise or promotion. I always just get them. So please trust me when I say you can change your money situation. Whatever your money situation has been doesn't have to be what it will be. Okay? I've done it. I've seen others do it. So you start with the inside and it will reflect on the outside. All right. So, number 5, fifth way that the inner work has changed my life is around money. Number 6 is healed relationships. So, there's so much to say about this one that I don't really know where to begin. And of all the ways that doing the inner work has supported my external life, this is the one that's the most ongoing because relationships are complex and we have so many of them. So relationships are always like showing me more ways that I can go deeper into the work. But I have the tools and I believe in the power of this work. So if I see a place that needs work in relationships, I do it. I do the work. So sometimes a healing relationship can look like forgiveness and clearing resentment. Sometimes it looks like boundaries. Sometimes it looks like leaving the relationship. Whatever it looks like, doing the inner work has led to overall more peace in my friendships, my work relationships, my family, and with Shane, my fiance. And so I want to share a specific story about Shane and I, because to me, Shane and I's story is the biggest healing that I've done and that most people could do. So some history, stay with me on my story behind Shane and I. Shane and I started dating in 2016. And back then, I wasn't very conscious. It's not like we started consciously dating. There were lots of problems, red flags, all the things, And we had a lot going for us, but we also had a lot of challenges. And in 2020, we broke up. And it was a really terrible breakup, to be honest. And I'll spare you the details. But then so it was the end of 2020 that we broke up, and then we spent all of 2021 apart. And I mean apart, like we barely spoke to one another. We moved on with our lives, or at least we thought we did. And in that time, speaking for myself, I really worked. I was heavy into doing the work on myself because I was healing. I was healing from heartbreak. And I also recognized that there were parts of me that weren't always loving. There were parts of me that I needed to own that were responsible for things not working. So I took responsibility for my part in what went wrong. And then I also worked hard on forgiving him for the things that he had done or that I perceived that he had done. So a year later, after we had broken up, Shane reached back out. And at this point, like I said, I had moved on. I had forgiven him mostly for myself, but we got together and he apologized. He confessed his love for me. All these things. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I couldn't believe how open he was being, how sharing, how humble. And in that moment, I realized that like I never stopped loving him. I just had to put that aside in order to move on. So, long story short, we consciously chose to start dating again, gently and cautiously. And we both agreed that nothing changes if nothing changes. So we chose to show up differently. And it wasn't easy. The past wounds, the dynamic we were used to operating in was always like pulling on us like gravity. It was like gravity. It was like, oh, go back to the way that you used to be. But we both vowed that we would show up differently. And so we did. And we fought against that gravity. And I'm happy to report that Shane and Angel 2.0 are happier than ever. The problems that we had in Shane and Angel 1.0 have not resurfaced. We fought against that gravity. We chose love. We chose to show up differently, and it worked. And I'm so, so grateful for the inner work and the tools that it had given me to be able to do that, because now I have this like incredible aligned relationship, and now we're getting married. So it's crazy. And I really truly believe that what Shane and I performed was a miracle. And I just wanted to share it here so that you know what's possible, because I know relationships, especially romantic relationships, can feel really hopeless when things aren't working. And I just want to share here the power that the inner work had for us. Okay, moving on. Thanks for listening. Number 7 way that doing the inner work has changed my life is my intuitive gifts coming online. So that particular, those gifts coming into my life were on the backside of me doing a lot of work on releasing control, surrendering, and trusting God. So if I know one thing about this community, I know that you guys also struggle with surrender. We've talked about it a lot through Instagram and through the various ways that I connect with you guys. And, as did I. I used to struggle. I used to want to exercise control. And so in Spirit Club, my group program that I mentioned, we do work around this for sure. Because really releasing control is like, it's like the last step, and it is the step that brings in the magic. So not only did surrendering allow a spark to rekindle between Shane and I, but it also led to my intuitive gifts coming online. I did not plan for this, okay? If you asked 5 years ago me if I would be doing psychic readings, talking to spirit guides and angels, praying to God, all these things, I would have thought you were crazy. But I really leaned into surrender. I really did. And I was like, God, I trust you. And it was hard, and it was, I was fighting against all my reflexes, but this is what came in. And it is so magical. I would never have imagined this if I had tried to control my path. Okay. So doing the inner work has really allowed this kind of magic to come into my life. And it can come into yours too. Okay. And number 8, this is just sort of like almost like summarizes all the above. The final way that doing the inner work has changed my life is alignment. So this, I believe, is what we're all really, truly trying to get. And listen, I don't live a truly aligned life for sure. Like I've alluded to, my day job is killing me, but because of the inner work, I know what I need to do. And I have the confidence to do it. I believe in myself, and I will do whatever it takes to be true to myself and my path. I will do the thing. And that is because I've done the inner work enough to know what's waiting for me on the other side. So if alignment is what you desire, then that is the road to alignment is working on yourself. So that's it. I mean, that probably isn't everything that doing the inner work has done for me, but that's everything that wants to be shared today. And for those of you who want to start to focus on yourselves and your internal environment to one day impact your external environment, you can join my group program, Spirit Club. Like I said, we start October 8th. It runs for 8 weeks, and it will be a small group because it's really important to be able to do a lot of one-on-one and intuitive coaching with you. And really what we're trying to do is, one, uncover what your heart wants. Two, take a look at any blocks that are standing in the way of you pursuing what your heart wants. Three, we are going to work with your intuition and spirit to find the way to what your heart wants. And four, we will work on surrender so that you can allow the magic to flow in. So if that sounds like something you want, check out my show notes for details. But either way, thank you all for coming. I would love to hear how doing the inner work has changed your lives. So feel free to comment. I think Spotify allows you a place to comment. So feel free to share with me or through Instagram, because I love hearing it. I love hearing how it changes lives, and I love witnessing how it changes the lives of my friends and my clients. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Until next time.